Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Americas. Here's a look at what's coming up in today's show. As hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans flee the economic turmoil at home, we'll look at the plight of some of those making the long journey in search of a better life. Then America is saying a final farewell this week to six-time Republican Senator John McCain. A look back at the life of the self-described maverick and Donald Trump foe on the way. And tucked high between snow-capped mountains, South America's once pristine Lake Titicaca is now victim to pollution. More on the locals trying to save it on the way. I'm Jeannie Gaillard. Over the past 4 years, 2.3 million Venezuelans have left their country, fleeing their country's failed economic policies and skyrocketing inflation. The exodus is one of the biggest in Latin American history, as our picture of the week can attest. The past few months alone, 120,000 Venezuelans traveled through the small border town of Pacaraima in Brazil. But the tensions there have pushed the Brazilian government to send troops in to control the growing violence against migrants there. Our Anna Kaiser followed some of these refugees on their long journey in search of a better life.
In this small town on the Brazilian border, Venezuelans arrive every day by the hundreds. They have their entire lives packed into suitcases. Juliani and Jovanes crossed the border 4 days ago.
All our clothes are ugly and dirty.
They sold all their belongings and left Caracas. They hope to be granted a refugee visa in this improvised reception center set up by the Brazilian military and the UN.
We'll have to come back tomorrow.
This is all for the visa, 8 forms.
These former public administration executives have all their savings on them.
Imagine you have almost 2,000 bolivars in your hand, and that gives you no more than €1.
Inflation and the new currency imposed by Nicolas Maduro have taken a toll on their meager savings.
We have no more money. We are ruined. Our economy can't be saved. We can't survive on minimum wage. It's so low, it's unbearable.
The mass exodus has caused tensions in the small Brazilian border town. Just a few days ago, this encampment was attacked and burned, which sent Venezuelans running to the other side of the border here. Since then, the government has called in special forces to try to control the situation. Despite their exhaustion, Norelis and her family have to travel an extra kilometer to sleep between the two border posts.
We left Wednesday afternoon from home, and I've kept going until today. Yes, we walked a lot. The trip was hard. I can't continue. This is where the Venezuelans sleep, because starting around 4 or 5 in the afternoon, the Brazilian authorities don't let us stay on the streets.
A makeshift camp on a parking lot for the luckiest of tents. Norelis has to hold on to her savings. White rice has been their only source of food for the last 5 days.
I want to go to Manaus, but I still don't have enough money.
Her brother lives farther south. Like most, she's waiting for a money transfer. This young couple has just received enough.
So emotional. I'm relieved, tired, sad.
Next stop, Boa Vista, the capital of the state. Then it's 6 days of driving to reach their promised land, the economic capital of Sao Paulo.
America is grieving the loss this week of six-term Senator John McCain. The self-described maverick and former prisoner of war went on to become a lion in Congress, as well as a 2-time candidate for president. But despite the fact that he and Donald Trump shared the same Republican Party, McCain was a critic of the president till the end.
They were from the same party, but had very different ideas. When it came to Donald Trump's policies and politics, John McCain never minced his words.
My job is to work with the president on areas that we agree. On areas we disagree, I will speak up and maybe occasionally be a subject of a tweet in the middle of the night.
Their fractious relationship began in 2015 when Trump ran in the Republican primaries. McCain said the businessman turned politician was pandering to anti-immigration rhetoric. Trump retaliated by attacking the war veteran's image. During the Vietnam War, McCain sustained lifelong injuries after ejecting himself from his damaged plane and ended up spending 5 years in prison, where he suffered torture at the hands of his Vietnamese captors, a story which Trump believes doesn't grant McCain a hero status.
He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
In October 2016, Trump came out on top in the Republican primaries, but McCain withdrew his support after tapes emerged showing Trump making demeaning comments about women.
I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
The scandal didn't stop Trump from winning the presidential election. During his campaign, he promised to put an end to Obamacare, but failed to pass the repeal bill backed by Republicans, after McCain, who had recently announced that he had brain cancer, voted it down.
I will not vote for this bill as it is today.
The Arizona senator's dramatic no vote wasn't the last blow he dealt to the Trump administration. In a posthumous letter prepared before his death, he appeared to take aim at the president's policies.
We weaken our greatness when we confuse our patriotism with tribal rivalries that have sown resentment and hatred and violence in all the corners of the globe. We weaken it when we hide behind walls rather than tear them down.
A clear reference to the wall Trump wants to build along the Mexico-US border. The president offered his condolences in a brief tweet after McCain's death. He has not been invited to the senator's funeral, which will be attended by other members of his administration, as well as former presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama.
Our number of the week is 2,975. That is the new revised death toll from Hurricane Maria that rocked the island of Puerto Rico 1 year ago. That official number from an independent report commissioned by the governor of the U.S. territory is 46 times higher than the initial toll. It's also 2.5 times more than the death toll from Hurricane Katrina, what Donald Trump had called a, quote, real catastrophe when he went to Puerto Rico last year. Next, Lake Titicaca, straddling the border between Bolivia and Peru, is as big as the French island of Corsica. It's also one of the largest and highest bodies of water in the Americas. But the once pristine lake is now plagued with pollution, a crisis that's prompting locals to act.
According to Inca legend, the people of a fertile valley were tricked into defying the gods. In anger, the gods destroyed them. But when the sun god saw this, he cried for so long, his tears formed a lake, Titicaca. It's one more thing that plays into the popularity behind one of South America's highest water reserves. At 4,000 meters, Bolivia's Lake Titicaca sees 700,000 tourists visit every year. Numbers so high that now it's the people who are destroying the area rather than the gods. Waste piles up and used water pours in daily, and the results are plain to see. Worse still for one researcher is the damage originating in nearby capital La Paz.
The largest contamination is from domestic sources. It's industrial in nature, and naturally these industries don't treat the water before they dump it.
This district of the city has grown from nothing to around 1 million people in just 20 years, with corresponding water consumption. 340 litres a second pour into Titicaca. Xavier Lazaro studies the pollution each month, taking his students on what he calls toxic tours.
You're getting an idea. It's sulfurated hydrogen, spoiled water.
Is it the most dangerous?
Yes, more so than the physical waste we can see. It's insidious, all this metallic contamination. You can't see it, but it's there.
Heavy metals, old medication, sewage, all have sparked massive growth of harmful green algae that throttles the growth of other flora.
We've got very high concentration here where it's not so deep, about 170, the equivalent of an entire water treatment plant.
More than 1,000 square kilometers are contaminated. Little by little, mud swept along through drainage systems has been drying out this part of the lake. In Koana Bay, local fishermen have had to switch to farming.
There are no more fish. None. We've had to have the milk and cheese analysed to be sure they aren't contaminated.
Come on, let's go clean the bay.
The area's small villages have little at their disposal, but are doing what they can to clean up some of the pollution. An NGO picks up 30 tons of waste every week.
This is an emergency. The lake is dying. More and more problems are piling up, and if it goes on, we're going to lose this entire part of the lake.
The Bolivian government and French development agency AFD have heard the call. They're releasing €100 million to renovate La Paz's water treatment plant and build a waste treatment facility by 2019. It's an uphill battle, but one that could, in the long term, save Lake Titicaca.
All right, we'll leave you now with this. Disneyland had people dreaming this week and spending a lot of money, but not in the usual way. Over $8 million were raised in an auction of old rides and other artifacts from the California theme park. An original car from the Dumbo ride, for example, went for $483,000. And magician David Copperfield bought a neon letter D from the Disneyland Hotel for $86,000. 900 items in all went on sale in that collection that once belonged to a Hollywood agent, nostalgic for his childhood trips to the Magic Kingdom. We'll leave you with that. Thanks so much for watching this Inside the Americas. We'll see you again next week for all the news from north to south.